right, I thought I was going to do this in one hot take. I just hit stop instead of hitting pause. So here we are, take two. We're going to go over TShark tonight for when you have to, because why would you want to otherwise? Well, let's see. All right, what is TShark? TShark is a network traffic analyzer or deep packet inspection tool. It can be leveraged to analyze network traffic and understand security risks. Today we're going to demonstrate some common exploitation techniques or some techniques with Wireshark to either play offense or defense. And then I'd be amiss if I didn't mention some mitigation strategies to harden or defend against the offensive perspective of this. So we'll provide some of that too. Imagine today, these days, everything's over the network. So you've got logins, emails, transactions, text, whatever. And without proper security, an attacker with the right tools can capture and exploit any of this. So we're going to do some of that today just for fun. All right, so TShark is one tool of many. This one is mine. Well, this one is somebody's. It's not mine. But why would you use TShark when Wireshark is available? So TShark is a command line version of Wireshark. Wireshark gives us pretty GUI, buttons to click, double click, super easy and straightforward and kind of intuitive. It does a lot of the work for us. However, it's GUI based, so you don't always have access to a full GUI environment, a full desktop environment. You might only have command line access. In such a situation, you're going to have to be able to accomplish the things you need to accomplish via command line. TShark is the command line version of Wireshark. Again, a powerful network packet analyzer and protocol. You can do protocol analysis. And again, you can capture that traffic without the GUI. It's lightweight and scriptable. So if you have a standard set of operations that you need to accomplish on the wire, this is a great tool for that. Some ethical and ethical consideration and legal boundaries. Again, so when we're using this, any powerful tool such as TShark or Wireshark or whatever, it could be used for good or bad, and it's crucial to understand your responsible usage or be mindful of what you're doing and be responsible with it. Don't violate any privacy laws or ethical standards, and then the escalation from there is obviously crossing those legal boundaries to where you're conducting computer fraud and abuse or breaking any number of laws. So this is your disclaimer slide. Please only use this on networks where you have been given explicit authorization to do so in a lab environment or competition, perhaps. Why can't I have it? So I spent a fair amount of my career in the commercial space and collaborating with systems engineers and systems administrators who wanted Wireshark, TShark, TCP dump, DNS tools, whatever, and from a security operations center perspective, that was dangerous for them to maintain those tools on their servers. Why is that? Well, we're going to go through some of the reasons now, but it is important to understand that the tool can be used for good and bad. So while my systems engineers and administrators saw it as a tool for good, that tool being there could very easily and readily be available for somebody with nefarious intent. So at least in the commercial space or maybe even the government sector, you're not likely to have this and be able to live off the land, so to speak. Given a regular work environment. So it might be a temporary authorization or something to that effect, but you can't always count on it. And certainly you can't always count on the GUI. Wireshark is particularly troublesome because it doesn't update itself. until you open it, or like you have to deliberately go update it as opposed to being able to manage it like through a package manager. So other fun stuff. Okay, not for you to worry about today. Today we're going to use it because why not? We got a Kali box. Let's roll. All right. So first thing we're going to talk about is capturing data on unsecured networks, which is about as easy as it gets. So our network administrator didn't bother encrypting anything. It's just all out there in the open using insecure protocols like Telnet, FTP, HTTP, because we're in the nest, we're in the safe space. So I'm a system administrator. I've got TShark on here, Wireshark, whatever, and it's fine because we're in the intranet, so no big deal, right? Well, that's where we get tripped up. So we've got insecure protocols running all over our network. Obviously, this is a target-rich environment. Other target-rich environments include public Wi-Fi, and then from a defensive perspective, there's a difference between sniffing or like passive monitoring versus active traffic manipulation or promiscuous interception. So just sitting, listening to what's crossing the wire and passing by is far more difficult to detect, as you can imagine. There's no active event happening. So I don't really know what my point is there. Just it's hard to detect. So there's potential to do both, and and one is more difficult to detect. All right. Mitigation wise, we want to enforce secure protocols. I'm going to reinforce this just from a blue teamer's perspective, but because I feel like I need to. You got your legal disclaimer, although I'm not a lawyer. You have your mitigation disclaimers, like this is how you would stop it. So enforce secure protocols. Don't use that stuff. Don't use insecure protocols, even internally, if you can avoid it. If you must, then make it a very explicit authorization to do so and monitor for deviation. Block unencrypted, everything unencrypted at the perimeter, and I don't mean at the internet boundary. I mean at every perimeter. So this, I don't want to say zero trust because that's all hype and fluff words, but what I mean is at every level that it's possible to explicitly define authorized traffic, do, or unauthorized traffic, do. Default to explicitly defining what is allowed versus what isn't allowed. Maybe that's a allow list or block list. Fine, like err towards the allow list if you can. That's tough in a real world environment, I understand. We see a lot of this in like AWS with security policies and stuff like that. Like it's a blessing and a curse, right? It's a lot to figure out and maintain and write, but it's meant to be because you can very granularly define what is and isn't allowed. All right, and then like even at the endpoint level, so I don't know, at least until recently, there's a lot of remote work going on. But the perimeter could be your endpoint, right? So we've got endpoint detection and response. We've got endpoint firewalls that we can build rules for and manage. So the perimeter is kind of a ever evolving thing or expanding circle of trust there. Okay. So let's get to it. Let's get to what we came here for, demos. I built a very simple HTTP server. So all it is a HTTP server running a simple form for basic auth, right? All right, so see that. So I'm going to start my server on port 5000, okay? Open up a new tab. I'm going to run this silly TShark command, and that's kind of the common theme here today. Like in Wireshark with the GUI, if you had that, double click, let it collect everything, do a view filter, and you're good to go. Like it does a lot of work for you. TShark, you have to understand the switches. So you got to figure out what the command line version of what you're trying to do is. So in this case, I've got I'm on my Kali VM, so I'm going to open it up to any network, network interface. So not just my Ethernet, not just ETH0, but anything that sees traffic on port 5000. Go ahead and collect it. Fine. Be different if it was on a busy network. I'm going to filter on TCP port 5000. I'm going to look for HTTP post methods, and I'm going to display these fields. So I want, we'll see it in a sec. Go ahead and hit send on that. My server is started. So I just need to pull up a browser and go ahead and navigate to that. And so far, nothing in Wireshark behind there. But if I do demo user and demo password, it's not going to do anything on purpose. I don't actually want to authenticate to anything. It's for demonstration purposes only. All right, cool. So I've got something here. So I've got from my local host to localhost. The endpoint is login. I've got a form that is encoded. So I'm going to copy that. I guess I could have left that open. Go to CyberChef because it's awesome. And I'm just going to do magic because I don't even want to think about it. So run some magic. There we go. So it's just hex, right? And you could do this a whole bunch of different ways. I guess if you if you only had command line, you would do it a different way. But here I am. So demo user, demo password. That's it. Like that's the whole demo. Obviously not secure because anybody listening between client and server can intercept that in the exact same way that I did, and harvest those credentials for whatever. Okay? Piece of cake. All right. So protocol weaknesses, a little bit different than just being in the clear, but similarly, FTP and Telnet in the clear effectively, not just authentication, but the entire data transfer. So lots of opportunity there. DNS vulnerabilities also for like cache poisoning. We'll go over that here in a sec. And then even if you employ encryption, but you employ poor encryption, there's opportunity to break that, like to exploit that weakness, right? So the mitigation down below is do better. Some common exploitation techniques include session hijacking, DNS spoofing, decryption, like I just mentioned. And then the mitigation for that is to not do any of those things, right? Employ secure protocols, not weak ones. Employ DNSSEC, not crappy DNS, like basic DNS. And then use MFA or other secure authentication protocols or mechanisms rather than basic. So right back to it, we'll get into another demo. So DNS spoofing, I'm going to give a quick demo of what it is, or I guess I'll demo it and then I'll give you a real world example. So let me stop what I had in the last one here. And we're going to go. What do I got? I don't know if I have to do anything. Let's see. Might already have this set up here. So we're going to, well, I guess let's view So I've got my name server. That's good. And then I've got all right. So what I've got here is a DNS mask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the address. Like when I see example.com, so my DNSmask.conf is going to take any example.com and reroute it to this IP address. And I'm going to listen on my local addresses. So it's simply a redirect. When I see this, I'm going to forward it here. And now where this would come in play is like I want to say Microsoft365.com and I'm going to route it to my server that looks exactly like Microsoft 365. A little bit different domain, but you won't notice. It's fine. And you're going to type in your username and password. And because you don't have MFA, I'm done. Just hit the I believe button there. All right, so let's see. I need to. Let's try first. Let's do dig example.com and my name server is working. This is why you don't do an entire distribution upgrade between demos. But let's see. Let's see what happens. Yeah. All right. Let's troubleshoot on the fly. We got nothing but time. Yeah. There we go. All right, so now when I do a dig on example.com, I get the A record that I anticipated, which is my redirect. So that matches that, which is totally underwhelming unless I go Control Shift R. All right, so that's not example.com, right? I have browsed to example.com and whatever this is not example.com. Okay, that's kind of the whole point of it. So I can redirect you. Like it would be maybe more impactful if I had Google that I was trying to navigate to, and what actually popped up was Google with 3 O's or something, right? That I'm hosting at this particular IP. But hopefully you can get the idea. Like I'm navigating to somewhere, and something else is popping up, and I don't know. Like, am I going to notice that that's not the right thing? If that's what I was kind of going for, if I expected this to be what example.com looked like, I don't know. But back to the slide here. So that was the demo. An attacker can modify the response to send the victim to a fake website. That's like the whole demo and point of this. So using more secure mechanisms for DNS are crucial in mitigating this attack. A real world example of this is a Talos group named Sea Turtle in April 2019, likely ongoing from 2017-ish or before, and nation state level kind of coordination or sophistication. So these folks compromised DNS registrars and gained access to be able to modify the DNS records for targeted domains. Then doing what we just did, like redirecting a user to a entirely legitimate looking site with valid certificate and no problem with the certificate whatsoever. Like the green lock was there, not the red warning, not like this site is dangerous, do you want to proceed kind of thing. It looked totally legit. They were able to harvest credentials for 2 years at least. And through that credential harvesting, gain like account access and persistence through those accounts, and then all kinds of other stuff. So there's certificate forgery, downgrade attacks, and ultimately data exfil. So real world example of how DNS spoofing can be used for espionage, cyber espionage. And this is a very sophisticated attack. And like simply looking for that good lock, like that HTTPS, this site is secure lock, isn't necessarily enough if the DNS server itself has been compromised. So that is why DNSSEC and monitoring and proactive threat detection are critical in your defense toolkit. Okay, this one I'm not going to demo. We just kind of went through a couple demos, but I'm going to explain that HTTPS decryption is possible, and I'm definitely not going to show you this, but here's how you would do it. Hint, hint. All right, so first, so in Kali, I have found that this doesn't work with Firefox. You have to use Chromium. It's totally fine. Just hit the I believe. If you can figure it out, let me know. I'm fine to be wrong. But all right, so I actually do this in my because why not? I don't recommend this for home use, but in my test environment, in my Kali, where only I have access to that VM in theory, right? I go ahead and import this into my Z shell RC, like my Z shell profile. So I want SSL key log file to equal something. Doesn't matter what, but here I have home username SSL key.log. That's what I'm looking at here. And then if I start TShark, again, I'm in my Kali, so I do any port, but you narrow it down if you want to. I want to filter on any 443 traffic, HTTPS, that's what I'm trying to decrypt. And I'm going to write that out into a PCAP, okay? And I'm going to open my browser. I'm going to browse something HTTPS. I mean, not that it doesn't matter what, you could just keep this going on forever, especially on a target machine. If that target machine were browsing HTTPS that you wanted to then decrypt. All right, and then this long TShark, you pause the video and read it if you want to. I'm gonna use TShark to export my objects that are HTTP to or from this PCAP file that I just created, and the output the keylog file is my keylog file that I've defined as an environment variable, right? So, oh man, I keep doing the same thing. All right, this little screenshot down here, this is that command being run, and what happens is, so when I list out what was those objects that were exported, what I get is a compiled list of every object that's in like developer tools. What would it be? The network tab or something, like every object that comes through there that I'm able to decrypt. And so you can see like the CSS sheet, you can see an icon, you can see pictures, you can see whatever. So all of these objects from my browsing that it was able to reconstruct, decrypt, and then reconstruct, I've output here. So this is great for if you have a form, like testpage.css, or if you had like login, whatever, you could reconstruct those objects and view them in plain text. Pretty handy. Okay. Again, I'm not going to go through that. It takes a little more time than I necessarily have because I'm already 47 minutes in. We're going to hurry up. All right, detecting malicious network activity. So again, a bunch of commands that, like, beside the point. What we're going to do is we're going to go, do I have a demo? Yeah, I've got a demo. I'm going to show you. So what I'm trying to do is listen to stuff. I'm going to write it out to a PCAP, and I'm listening on what I expect C2. So what I'm looking for from malicious activity is like beacons or like exfil, malformed packets, stuff like that, right? So if I have, in this example, like evilserver.com DNS that I could search for, I could just search for that. Like I could just wait for that. Like I know what it's supposed to be calling out to. Let me just capture that traffic. I can narrow it down a little bit. Or maybe I don't know exactly what the domain name is that it's calling out to, but I want to get all the DNS names, DNS query names and responses, and figure it out that way, right? I could do some data analysis to figure out what is being called to regularly, or what at what interval, etc. Okay, so in this case, I listened to 53, 443, and 80, and then figured out like what the DNS names were that were being called out to. Okay, and then so what I did is I made a beacon server, like a client calling out to a C2 server. So it's beaconing every 4 seconds or 8 seconds. I forget what it was, 5 seconds. And then you can copy this, but just output these fields for me to include the time delta displayed. So the time delta displayed is going to give me the offset between those frames, right? And then if I just show you the so what. All right, so you can see example C2 here, example C2 here. So I can see just by running like a TShark listen on port 53, I can see these queries coming in, right? I can also see that it's a malformed packet because I've got some data in there that shouldn't be. I'm trying to exfil data. So something to look at, something to investigate, right? You see google.com, Yahoo, TikTok, whatever you guys are looking at, and then you see something weird and malformed packet and another malformed packet to go into something weird. That leads you to investigate further, right? Okay, and then so we could do some time analysis. So with that command, this bottom command here on this last slide, same thing as I have here on the command line. You pause it and take it down if you need to, but the point is, like, you're trying to establish the time delta displayed for each packet. And so each time this happens is almost exactly 5 seconds, pretty close to 5 seconds each one, and that's different. And so there's another one here, 5.00. Anyway, point is, like, most of them are pretty quick. Like when I'm browsing, it goes pretty quick, like less than a second. And then there's this regular interval every 4 point something, 5 point something seconds. Maybe that's normal. Maybe my computer just does that. Maybe it's something on the network like my Nest thermostat that's calling out to whatever for updates every 10 minutes or something, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be anything nefarious, but certainly worth looking into. Real world case study of this would be the Sunburst malware attack on SolarWinds in 2020, which used DNS tunneling to send encoded data into DNS requests. This is pretty standard, even in 2020. And then encrypted the payloads to hide in normal traffic, and then delayed activation techniques to avoid detection. So I'd, again, be remiss if I didn't say, like if I didn't at least mention the potential mitigations, starting with hardening to prevent these attacks where they start. So if you can just prevent these things in the first place, you're better off. However, like you still want to monitor and have your monitoring and alerting tools. So we need some exceptional logging strategies, some threat feeds, SIM or SIEM, however you pronounce it, some threat hunting specific tools like or alert tools, IDS, IPS, Zeek, Suricata, or might I mention for beacon traffic, Rita from Black Hills InfoSec. Fantastic tool, fantastic team. All right, session. That was quick. That was it. Like I need to keep mentioning mitigation to the offensive element, aspect of this, because I have to. All right. So demo, yeah, good. Demo, like command line less demo. I'm just going to show you what it is. So I created a simple web server that uses session cookies. We can capture those session cookies with TShark, and then we can use that having captured that session token, we can just use it to impersonate the victim. Okay, so yeah, I'll show you. I don't mean for it to sound like a burden. It's not. I'm just way over time on what I intended this thing to be. I hope you're still with me. All right, let's do. Session server. All right, so now I've got a session server going on, and I need to run my TShark command. That's what this whole brief is about, really. It's really about insecure protocols and the potential for GUI-less operations, but here we are. All right, so TShark running, and then I need to, oh, sorry, what was that, 5,000? Yep. All right, so again, I'm going to browse to localhost 5,000. I'm not logged in. I'm going to log in. Okay, now I'm logged in as attacker, right? And so what I got was this session key right here. So if I copy this, and I say, well, let's do new tab. I say curl the, I'm going to make up a session key because I'm not logged in, right? So that's a failure. That is not the correct session key. If I have a valid session key, however, paste clipboard, enter, I am now logged in as an attacker. So I'm logged in as opposed to not logged in. And that's, again, like just me capturing the session key using TShark. So it even caught my attempt to use a invalid session key. So something to be mindful of there if you were, happen to be capturing session keys and didn't know which one was valid. You might not, but so keep trying. Anyway, so you get, this is the TShark command, get the session key. Oh, I just closed it. Use that to then, impersonate the victim. Okay, again, pretty simple demo, but you can imagine the ramifications of this, right? Okay, that's it. That was an awful lot of talking and a couple demos in there. Hopefully it was worthwhile. The key takeaways are, like if you don't have a GUI, like if you land on a target machine or you're doing an investigation or something, you don't have a GUI and you need to conduct network analysis or deep packet inspection, it's okay. You got it. You can figure it out. Like there's a man page, there's a help file, there's the whole internet and ChatGPT if you need it. It's not a problem. You can totally do this. Except it's way more complicated than Wireshark. It would be way easier if you just had Wireshark, unless you script it out. Then if you've got your regular commands that you normally run or things you're normally looking for, you could just script that out and have that running. Way easier than typing out all this nonsense like full commands like I've got in these slides here. But for demo purposes, I guess. And then again, please defend against this crap. So enforce better standards and protocols. Just do better, network-wise and protocol-wise. Monitor, have an exceptional logging standard and practice. Educate your teams, your dev teams, your network teams, etc., on your engineering teams writ large on session security and token management, and then monitor, alert, stay proactive, hunt the threats, go poking around a little bit, see what you find, and then try to stay up to date on the latest threats and mitigation strategies by continuing education. That's it. I hope you got something out of this. The whole point was to show you that many things are possible with TShark, and I prefer not to use it, but sometimes you're forced into a situation where you need to accomplish a task, and you don't have the exact tool that you need. So this is one option, and I hope this comes in use, or comes in handy in the near future.